in every rhyme. I put hip-hop up in every line. I put hip-hop up in every flow. MC versus the mind control. I put hip-hop up in every rhyme. I put hip-hop up in every line. I put hip-hop up in every flow. MC versus that mind control. I step in the arena with the flashing light. I love it, I love it, I love it. Alright. This is what I'm doing. This is the culture. Create, curate, cultivate the culture. I got this hat, hoodies. I got some new shirts with the graphics coming on that you see in all of my background work on the Facebook page and on the YouTube. The culture is a real thing, and this is kind of in support of that. I'm going to take this list of 50 great black leaders that I want to introduce to you. And I introduced them in kind of order of importance, meaning study number 1 first, and then all of the other things will fall into place under the number 1s, the number 2s, the number 3s. And I tried to put it in an order that really, you know, kind of importance, consequential, you know, a lot of things that go into it. Like in a book, there'll be a lot more that I can give you with it. But the format I'm going to use here is basically, I'm going to tell you who he is, what number he is, and I'm going to let Google give a little background. And so we'll start this off and we're going to run through it. I'm going to try not to interrupt, or I'll try to interrupt when necessary to kind of put everything in context why I chose this guy, and kind of make it an exchange so you can kind of get where I'm coming from with what I'm offering as far as the culture. So number 50, I chose Clarence Avant. Hey Google, who is Clarence Avant?
According to Wikipedia, Clarence Alexander Avant is an American music executive, entrepreneur, and film producer. He also goes by the name of the Black Godfather.
So, if you've seen the movie on Netflix, The Black Godfather, that'll tell you exactly who Clarence Avant is. Beautiful man, beautiful family, but he was really powerful in the shaping of not only black media, but all media. He's really big in, you know, he's presidential level, world leader level. Clarence Avant is number 50. He's somebody you should research and study and really understand, because he's one of the greatest black leaders. He's number 50. Now, number 49, I chose because he correlates a little bit with the entertainment world. This is a little bit more of the underbelly of the black existence, but I think understanding this man's story, understanding who he is and what it meant to be in Harlem. So I'm going to go with number 49, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. Hey Google, who is Ellsworth Johnson?
According to Wikipedia, Ellsworth Raymond Johnson, known as Johnson, was an American mob boss and bookmaker in New York City's Harlem neighborhood.
Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson was a black gangster who fought off Dutch Schultz to take over Harlem's bookmaking and all of that. And why he's such a leader is because at this time in the world, you know, exploitation in the gangster world was big, and you know, having somebody outside your culture exploiting your people, you know, that could lead to catastrophic, you know. So he was responsible for taking the hood back, as they say. So I put him somebody to study at number 49. Now, this next person I chose, like I say, everybody on this list is great. It's not, he's greater than. But as in, you know, in the whole scheme of things, I chose Dick Gregory to be number 48. And I'm going to let Google tell you who Dick Gregory is, then I'll give you my take on Brother Dick Gregory. Hey Google, Who is Dick Gregory?
According to Wikipedia, Richard Claxton Gregory was an American comedian, civil rights activist, social critic, writer, conspiracy theorist, entrepreneur, and occasional actor.
And that's why I chose, because he was like Mr. Everything to the black community for the last 60 years, and Brother Dick has passed on, so you know, I want to send my condolences out to Brother Dick and his family and everything, but he made the list at number 48 because, you know, his position, and like I said, the last 60 years in so many different places, whether it's his fraternity order or, you know, his comedic stance or his activism, he was with everybody, you know, all of the big wigs all around the world. Brilliant man. You should look into Dick. He's got a book out that he put out, and he's tons of video on the internet. So Dick Gregory at 48. Now number 47 should be a little bit higher on the list, I think, but I'll put him at 47 because there's a lot of controversy surrounding Brother Bill Cosby, number 47. And I'm going to do the Google just to let you see what the controversy, how deep it is. But Bill Cosby, educator, entertainer, comedian, the father to us all, father to me, so I can never say he wasn't a great man and he didn't contribute immensely to the black American fabric and the American fabric, because just because there are 50 great black leaders don't mean that they just contributed to black people. It means that they contributed to the fabric of the world. And Coke and Smile, Bill Cosby. Hey Google, who is Bill Cosby?
According to Wikipedia, William Henry Cosby Jr. is an American stand-up comedian, actor, musician, and author.
Okay, Wikipedia didn't put into the scandal. I'm not going to put into it, but it's a big scandal. I don't really follow it, or I didn't track it. I think it was, you know, unjust. And that's where I stand with it. But, you know, that and OJ you can't talk about. So I'm not really trying to go there with this podcast to be that kind of person, because I could really be that kind of person. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to get a list of people out who I think are important to study, learn about, see their works, and, you know, kind of imbibe it and understand, you know, who we are as a people, as a culture, I should say. And I don't like to say that it's just black, because the culture that I speak of is rooted in black, but it goes into so many different places in the world that I don't want to limit myself this knowledge. But this list is of 50 great black leaders for young black people out there who studying, who want to know ways, know the way of making it in the world. These people made it in the world, and they did it immensely great. So I'm going to go to number 46, and I'm going to go to Angela Davis. Hey Google, who is Angela Davis?
According to Wikipedia, Angela Yvonne Davis is an American political activist, academic, and author.
Now, Angela Davis came about at a time in America that was very pivotal, very critical, when feminist movement was coming about, radical movement was coming about. There was a lot going on with Angela Davis and around her as far as the Black Panthers, George Jackson. So a lot of revolutionary movement, but she's very educated out of California. She's another person, like, you know, just a wealth of history that you can learn from and you can look up and you can really dig in, and, you know, you can spend years studying who Angela Davis is and what she's been through and her politics and her affiliations. But she's a very powerful woman, very great woman, and the story of who we are as a culture in 2019. I mean, a lot of the things that's going on and being reflected in the media and in the norms today, Angela Davis was at the forefront of that. So I really want you to respect her and know that she's, you know,
not low on the list. This is a list of great people. So Angela Davis is a great woman. And at number 45, this one I threw in there because I almost left it out. I got somebody else in there that I don't think I should have put it on the list, but I did. And I'm glad that I changed it to this guy, Abraham Bowden. Abraham Bowden is the first black Secret Service agent chosen by Jack Kennedy. Tried to save his life. I mean, just a great, wonderful guy. Got in some trouble for trying to save Kennedy, to get him out of the way so everything can go down. I mean, you really got to check in their story. Book Echoes from Daily Plaza. I talk to him on Facebook all the time. He's trying to get a pardon. Hopefully the president will get wind, so anybody who's listening, the word is pardon Abraham Bowden. Bring this man his flowers while he's still alive. He's an elder statesman right now, but just full of spirit. Love the brother. But Abraham Bowden, I'm going to let Google do her thing, tell you who he is. And, yeah. Hey Google, who is Abraham Bowden?
According to Wikipedia, Abraham W. Bowden is an American former United States Secret Service agent, the first African-American Secret Service agent assigned to the Presidential Protective Division, appointed by John F. Kennedy in 1961.
Yeah, great man, and like I said, get him his pardon, bring him his flowers while he's alive. That's really what this podcast is about, is knowing that this is real history, these are real people, that real things happen, and I mean, it's big. And our culture is big, and we are part of that big thing, and we got to get connected and get in and understand who these people were and what they fought for, the truth and the justice. And so this list, you know, like I said, it may seem like I'm taking a long time, but I'm really selling you on the idea that the culture is real. We got to create it, curate it, and cultivate it, the culture. You know, I'm throwing my shameless plugs in there, but I'm really enjoying going through this list because I'm learning as we go through. Jackie Robinson, number 44. And like Abraham Bowden was Secret Service, Jackie Robinson was an athlete who was an ambassador to America. I mean, just teaching whites, blacks through grace, understanding, athleticism, excellence, and performance. He really brought America to a place that, you know, when it was great. Jackie Robinson represents a greatness of America just by his grace and poise with bringing through all of this racism and, you know, the sports world actually embracing that change. But he was a great ambassador. You got to look up number 42. I should have put him at number 42. As a matter of fact, we'll make him number 42 and we'll move number 42 down to number 44, but we'll do that when we get there. Because I got a song that I wrote called 42 dedicated to Jackie Robinson, you know. And for real, it's not a joke. Jackie Robinson, one of the greatest Americans ever. As an ambassador, he was a leader of so many different men in so many different ways. So he definitely deserves to be on this list. And like I say, he's number 42 on the list, not 44. That's Reggie Jackson. And this is not an athlete's list, this is a leader's list. So that shows you how powerful he was in sport. Hey Google, who was Jackie Robinson?
According to Wikipedia, Jack Roosevelt Robinson was an American professional baseball player who became the first African American to play in Major League Baseball in the modern era.
That's my man, number 42. So look him up and make sure you get the whole Jackie Robinson experience, the movie, the books, the testimonials, Hall of Fame speeches. Like I said, this is a lot of history in this list, and it, you know, it can take up a lifetime to learn about just these people. And we got so much more to cover. So the culture is moving fast, and you know, Next, I have Ella Baker at number 43. I'm going to let Google tell you who Ella Baker was, so I'll be as sharp as I can. Hey Google, who was Ella Baker?
According to Wikipedia, Ella Josephine Baker was an African-American civil rights and human rights activist in the United States.
Hey Google, tell me more about Ella Baker.
According to Wikipedia, Ella Josephine Baker was an African-American civil rights and human rights activist in the United States.
Hey Google, more.
Here are a couple more suggestions. You can say, turn off Bluetooth, or play relaxing sounds. You can also see more examples in the Google Home app.
Stop. Okay. Like I say, you might want to do a lot of research on Ella Baker. Hold on. I got to do my research. All right, I'm back. I had to go do a little bit more research on Ella Baker and find out why I put her so high up on the list at number 43. And it's because Ella Baker was amazing. I'm so ashamed that the next person that I talk about I know so much about, but Ella Baker graduated from college in 1927, valedictoria, Shaw College in North Carolina. She sued them to change policies. She's the woman who taught Martin Luther King nonviolence. Community organizer, worked with so many different people in the civil rights movement, often slept on. And, you know, one of the reasons why there's Angela Davis and Ella Baker's on the list and women on the list is because I really want to show that some of our greatest leaders have been women, and that's part of our culture, is following our woman's lead and understanding that our women are smart, beautiful, intelligent, strong, ferocious, and all of that. But Ella Baker was, you know, marvelous woman, and I'm really ashamed that I had to go do some refreshing. But when you're doing a list like this, you're going through so many people, and you got to do, like Phyliss Wheatley, I'm going to have to go do some research on her to give you a little bit of my context of why she made it higher on the list than such people as Ella Baker, who did such great things as, you know, training civil rights activists in nonviolence, and taught Rosa Parks, and, you know, all of the strategy that we're using in all of these protests and things that's going on, you know, these are strategies developed in the culture. And this is, you know, one of the biggest reasons why I'm making this, because I got a section on books that I'm going to do on a whole nother podcast that would just let you understand who I am and what I believe in the culture. So Ella Baker, number 43, and number 44, who was at number 42, but that we're giving that to Jackie Robinson. But number 44 is Oprah Winfrey. And I think that whole adjustment that I made in camera while we're doing this is real. I think it's necessary because Ella Baker and Oprah Winfrey, two very powerful women in the movement. I don't think I have to do a lot of background on Oprah. Everybody know who Oprah is. They know Dave Chappelle's Oprah money scheme. Oh, I love that. But Oprah is an immense figure in our history for the last 30 years. She's represented women actually taking the lead in business, and taught a lot of our men how to succeed. Like I say, everybody knows who Oprah is, but let Google do her thing, because research is real, and, you know, that's part of what this is about, is so on the younger people or other people that, you know, information is out there. You can go to Wikipedia, and it may not be the best source of information, but it's got links that'll take you to great sources of information, and you can, you know, research and learn more. And, you know, with so many different people, so many different links, you're going to run into some truth. So, hey Google, who was Oprah Winfrey?
According to Wikipedia, Oprah Gail Winfrey is an American media executive, actress, talk show host, television producer, and philanthropist.
So that's why her and Gail are so close. Gail King, because Oprah's middle name was Gail, and she was on King Vision, so little stuff. But now we go to number 41, and 3 women in a row. And not intentional, but I chose to go with a businesswoman again. Like Ella Baker, I think is higher on the list, but this impacted us in another way, in a beauty way, in an educational way, and economic way. So she's a lot more, and she led a lot more people in a lot of different circles. Madam C.J. Walker. Hey Google, who is Madam C.J. Walker?
According to Wikipedia, Sarah Breedlove, known as Madam C.J. Walker, was an African-American entrepreneur, philanthropist, and a political and social activist.
So you can see in her breath, you know, they don't go into Madam C.J. Walker opening up beauty schools, teaching schools, teaching women careers, millionaire, getting things done. I mean, when you do the history on Madam C.J. Walker, I can't go into all of the details right now. But remember, all of these people are going to be in a book. There's a book coming from this experience because we're a multimedia production company, you know. The culture, you know, get the gear, support, that's how you support us. But all of these stories will be told in, you know, the 50 great American leaders. And, you know, that book probably be out by the middle of October, definitely be out for Christmas, and you can give it as a gift. But we move on to my man, my brother, man on the square, Prince Hall. Now, a lot of brothers might not understand who Prince Hall is, but Prince Hall was the first African-American Mason. Brother on the square, thinking man. So, I'm going to let Google tell you who he is, and I'm not going to try to go into everything, but I know a lot about Brother Prince Hall. I know a lot about. Hey Google, who is Prince Hall?
According to Wikipedia, Prince Hall was an African-American abolitionist and leader in the free black community in Boston.
Okay, maybe I didn't say it too much. Prince Hall is, look him up. We just gonna leave it at that. Number 39, same era. See, we go all the way back to the original leaders, you know, and Prince Hall's influence is very big, and that's why he's high up on the list. He's at number 40. So understand that, you know, you make the list, and based on who you influence, how you influence, where you influence, what you influence, is kind of how I put this list together to give my emphasis on, you know, how leadership in America really works. And so, number 40, Prince Hall. Number 39, a name that everybody knows, and that's why he's a little bit higher on the list. Hey Google, who is Crispus Attucks?
According to Wikipedia, Crispus Attucks was an American stevedore of African and Native American descent, widely regarded as the first person killed in the Boston Massacre and thus the first American killed in the American Revolution.
That's deep. The first person killed in the Boston Massacre, first person killed in the American Revolution, first American to ever die for his country was a black man named Crispus Attucks. It don't get no better than this, y'all. No better. Hey Google, who was Crispus Attucks?
According to Wikipedia, Crispus Attucks was an American stevedore of African and Native American descent, widely regarded as the first person killed in the Boston Massacre and thus the first American killed in the American Revolution.
So, this is so refreshing to do this. I mean, I got to thank my brother L.A., you know, who's supporting this and who really put this together and asked this question. And he said, you know, Jago, who is the 50 greatest black men or something like that, you know, something like that. And I really got to thinking about it, and I put together the list. And I said, I'm going to put together a podcast, my first podcast, as you all know, because this is where I'm supposed to be. We used to do this. We was in a brotherhood, and, you know, it was always a dream to talk about books, movies, culture, and, you know, but you got to be on the level of trying to progress and develop. So learning this history, learning about Crispus Attucks, Prince Hall, Madam C.J. Walker, Oprah Winfrey, Ella Baker, Jackie Robinson, Abraham Bolden, Angela Davis, Bill Cosby, Dick Gregory, Ellsworth, Bumpy Johnson, Clarence Avant. That's what this is. This is the culture. Always got a book to read, always got something that you focused on, always learning about where you are in your world, and one of these people have been there. So we're going to go back to number 38. And another woman made the list, very powerful woman. Same as the Ella Bakers, she's more powerful. Hey Google, who is Fannie Lou Hamer?
According to Wikipedia, Fannie Lou Hamer was an American voting and women's rights activist, community organizer, and a leader in the civil rights movement.
So as you can see, a lot of leadership comes from women, and if you don't know about Fannie Lou Hamer, I mean, you know her because you've heard her, and like I say, that's why she's so high on the list, because she's ubiquitous in our experience. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we get that story and that understanding and that perspective on leadership, because Fannie Lou Hamer wasn't no joke. I mean, you know, I got more women on here, and I can go through the whole thing in the book of how all of these things correlate and how each one built one, like each one teach one, each one built one. And Fannie Lou Hamer is a cornerstone, and, you know, people asserting themselves for their rights. And, you know, women, African Americans, and, you know, so many other people were encompassed into that. And once you get that story, you'll understand what I'm saying. We go to number 37, Phyliss Wheatley. Hey Google, who was Phyliss Wheatley?
According to Wikipedia, Phyliss Wheatley, also spelled Phyllis and Wheatley, was the first African-American woman to publish a book of poetry.
So, like I said, with all of these women fighting for rights, before that there was Phyliss Wheatley, the first African-American publisher. And you know, this goes off like, you know, you talk about Clarence Avant in the entertainment world. He's getting movies made, he's getting albums made, he's getting groups put on, he's getting, once you see The Black Godfather, you'll see how powerful he was in the creation business. But before all of that power was had, and, you know, getting access to a press at a time, getting access to reading, writing, just all of the things that it took to put together a book, and this is a little black girl doing this. So her leadership, her inspiration, her example really represent why she's that high on this list. Now, might be considered intentional, but it really just came to my mind, and the next person on the list is James Baldwin. Hey Google, oh, fire next time, James Baldwin.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that.
I didn't mean that. Hey Google, who is James Baldwin?
According to Wikipedia, James Arthur Baldwin was an American novelist, playwright, and activist.
Right. So to go from Phyliss Wheatley's poetry to James Baldwin's poetry, that's cultural. James Baldwin in the 60s wrote Fire Next Time, expatriated himself, went abroad, and, you know, really had the black experience in the world, and brought that experience. Now, James Baldwin was unique in that he had, you know, very outside of the box perspectives, other than mainstream black activism, but he was so vocal and so strident that he became a force, and he led a lot of people and educated a lot of people who were high up in his time, which is why he earned such a high position on this list. And above James Baldwin, coming in at number 35, because I'm trying to keep this show at least under an hour and a half. So, you know, time is of the essence, so I'm trying to move through it as quickly as possible. Under James Baldwin, we have Andrew Young. Brother Andrew Young. Brother Andrew Young, civil rights activist, United Nations governor. Let Wikipedia tell you, or Google. Hey Google, who is Andrew Young?
According to Wikipedia, Andrew Jackson Young Jr. is an American politician, diplomat, and activist.
Yeah, Andrew Young, right there, side by side with Martin Luther King in the Civil Rights Movement. After King got killed, he went on to be a great voice for our people in high places, and a very true voice. I trust Andrew Young. I love Andrew Young. That's why he's number 35 on the list. Now, this leader was a maverick wildcat. This guy, number 34, he wrote a book called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? I mean, brass balls. Reginald Lewis. Hey Google, who is Reginald Lewis?
According to Wikipedia, Reginald F. Lewis was an American businessman.
American businessman. Reginald F. Lewis was the first black billionaire. Reginald F. Lewis leveraged 2 properties to buy Mcloud Sewing, brought in the supermodel, and revolutionized that business. Made big bucks off of that. Took that money, bundled it with some partnerships, worked with Michael Milken, and bought TLC Beatrice to make himself the first black billionaire. Wasn't just a black businessman. I mean, you know, Ron Brown, Reginald Lewis, titans, leaders in industry and finance. So Reginald Lewis makes his mark up there because he set the bar. All of these people chasing after black billionaire status, Reginald Lewis did it first. Learned his story, died from cancer. They believe it was from using that cell phone too much. But do the story on Reginald Lewis, that cigar, that Gap 2 smile. My brother, love that brother, Reginald Lewis. And now this is my choice that I put at number 33. Y'all understand that, if you brotherhood out there. This guy is a remarkable phenomenon, and in a time of darkness and our progression in leadership, he stepped in and he brought a bright light that most people missed and most people want to understand, and why a lot of us feel the way we do today. So brother Steve Coakley is number 33. And if you out there and you a true blue man of the culture, you know who Steve Coakley is, you know who brother Coakley is. And I'm just going to say this with the caveat that I got to talk to brother Steve Coakley near the end of his life, and he told me a lot of things that prepared me to be here. And brother Williams from down in Louisiana can attest to that. They sent me some information from Dr. John Henrik Clarke, you know, so this movement comes from a place. And like I say, brother Steve, his spirit every day, understand pawns linked together, understand that's what built this culture, and understanding what we fighting for is the culture. So I put Steve at number 33. Let's see if he got a Wikipedia page, because brother Steve was truly a grassroots revolutionary. Hey Google, who is Steve Coakley?
According to Wikipedia, Steve Coakley was an American political researcher and lecturer who lectured nationally on political and economic issues relating especially to the African American community.
All right, they did it right by him on the Google. Yeah, Steve was a giant, and you know, I gotta say this because I'm noticing on my list. No, I don't have to say it. I just noticed on my list. I did not skip that man. But Steve came into the game with brother Harold Washington, who's further up on the list. But so Steve is, you know, you gotta look for him and you gotta understand his true heart, his true nature, because he's known things and he's seen things and he'll teach you things that you'll never learn in anywhere else in the world except for Steve Coakley. I'm down with brother Coakley. So number 32 is brother Randall Robinson. Brother Randall Robinson wrote the book The Debt. Brother Randall Robinson fought for Haiti and South Africa and Mandela. Brother Randall Robinson, Harvard Law School professor. Oh my goodness, he's a true 32. You just gotta go in to find out who Brother Randall Robinson is and find out his work. I got his book, Quitting America. I think I gave that to my cousin because I wanted him to read it so bad. I mean, I'm ordered again on Amazon, but you have to get all of Randall Robinson's works and let him talk to you and educate you on what life is really about, because he's one of the truest representations of what the culture stands for and what the culture is moving towards. And all people around the world need to learn from Brother Randall Robinson. So, beautiful brother. He's number 32 on the list. And number 31, revolutionary. Hey Google, who was Denmark Vesey?
According to Wikipedia, Denmark Vesey was a literate, skilled carpenter and leader among African Americans in Charleston, South Carolina.
Right. You know his name if you know about revolution and revolt. And Brother Denmark Vesey led the Maroon revolts. All right. I had to go do a little refresher on Denmark Vesey and realize why he was so high up. Denmark Vesey led the South Carolina slave revolt, which was thwarted when two of his counterparts, or two people in a revolt, they basically leaked the plan in tow. And 65 men were hanged, including Vesey. But his story is remarkable. One of the key things is he won his freedom through lottery winnings and bought his freedom. And his children were enslaved, which added to, and there was some things with oppression of his church. But Denmark Vesey was one of the first black martyrs of the revolution from the preaching tradition, and that would go on to lead, as we know in history, to some of the other great men on this list. So I'm going to take another break, go get my tea, and I'll look up Paul Cuffe, excuse me. Hey Google, who is Paul Cuffe?
According to Wikipedia, Paul Cuffe or Cuffe was born free into a mixed-race Quaker family on Cuttyhunk Island, Massachusetts.
And I'll give you a lot more info when I come back on Paul Cuffe, because some of the things that he did were wonderful. All right, I just had to go do a little bit more research on Paul Cuffe again. Hey Google, who is Paul Cuffe?
According to Wikipedia, Paul Cuffe or Cuffe was born free into a mixed-race Quaker family on Cuttyhunk Island, Massachusetts.
Okay, so I have Paul Cuffe at number 30. And why is he so high up on the list? And I had to go back and I said, okay, why did I put this man so high on the list? Paul Cuffe is the first American Pan-Africanist. He was born free, as they said, in Massachusetts. His parents helped raise his family, became a shipping merchant, worked with the British. So he was kind of loyal to the British during the Revolutionary War and stuff. So he wasn't really feeling America after the Revolutionary War, and he set up, you know, sending black people back to Sierra Leone, you know, those who were in Nova Scotia, because Britain controls Canada. He was telling them people, if you ain't happy in North America, we can go back to Africa. So, and he put his money where his mouth is. He owned ships. So a lot of what Marcus Garvey, who's on this list, did comes from Paul Cuffe. And so, you know, I'll do a thorough, extensive background on him in the book. You know, just powerful, powerful people. And like I said, you know, from all different parts of the background. You know, some people, like Crispus Attucks, first black man to die for America was a black man. And a black man who really wasn't trying to be American, first Pan-Africanist. So Paul Cuffe, number 30, very important. Great reason to do your history. Be right back. Okay, now, after Cuffe, Paul Cuffe, we have Martin Delaney at number 29. And to have him one step above Paul Cuffe is funny because Martin Delaney, well, I'll let Google tell you. Hey Google, who is Martin Delaney?
According to Wikipedia, Martin Robeson Delaney was an African-American abolitionist, journalist, physician, soldier and writer, and arguably the first proponent of black nationalism.
So now you get the Malcolm X. So you got the Garvey from Cuffe, Pan-Africanism. And then you get the Malcolm X from Martin Delaney. And when you go through the history, you'll see that these repeating patterns of, like I say, each one teach one, and these building blocks are there. So you got to do the history because nothing is formed in a vacuum, not the culture anyway. So the culture is actually the environment that things form in, you know, these cultures. Like I said, you got Martin Delaney, Paul Cuffe, and Cuffe, excuse me. Now we're going to go into Huey P. Newton. And I know a lot of people out there are familiar with who Huey was. Black Panther Party, doctorate of law, did jail time. Mentioned in a Public Enemy song. This is how I got into all of this study. Was Public Enemy said the shooting of a Huey Newton from the hand of a nigga that pulled the trigger. And they said nig, I believe, because, you know, they was conscious. And that'll be another show on great black music, great artists for the cause. And it's not a real black thing, it's more of blacks who were great, not just because it's for blacks. It's great music and you can learn from it. So getting comfortable with this, you go into number 28, Huey P. Newton, educated in law. After Malcolm X had died, his Panther Party was responsible for the 10 Points program, which articulated precisely a lot what was going on in the 60s after the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Huey Newton was the voice that was right on time. Let's see what Google has to say about Brother Huey. Hey Google, who was Huey P. Newton?
According to Wikipedia, Huey Percy Newton was a revolutionary African-American political activist who, along with Bobby Seale, co-founded the Black Panther Party in 1966. So, they came about and brought, this was right after Malcolm X had been killed in 65, so they came with a much more militant perspective, and they spawned a lot of dialogue in the radical and revolutionary sphere, where a lot of our leaders came from and why a lot of that is necessary in today's discourse. So if you go through Huey Newton and what he did
with the Black Panther parties and what he did up in Oakland with the breakfast programs. A lot of these things were institutionalized in the government. Like I say, making it to this list of being a great leader means your impact was so great in our history and our culture and where we living at in the world today that most people, they miss these finer points of, you know, like this breakfast program is, you know, nationwide, international. And, you know, he brought that about. So Huey Newton was not a joke. You know, there's a lot of things that you'll read about him in history. But, and I'll go into it in the book and really give my real deep thoughts on Brother Huey. Because, like I say, when you look at Martin Delaney, Paul Cuffe, Huey Newton, these guys were conscious of their situation and the environment they were in. So I'm going to move on to number 27 because he's in a whole different vein. And a lot of brothers don't know and a lot of brothers do know, but I had to put him on here because he is one of America's great black thinkers, philosophers, cultural phenomenons that spawned a lot. And this is Brother Noble Drew Ali. And if you don't know Brother Noble Drew in the Moore Science Temple, excuse me, that's why I got the tea, because the show must go on. But Brother Noble Drew Ali in the Circle 7 and the mysticism and the wisdom that he brought into the game, but his organization and his research and the movement that it spawned that still lingers to this day is phenomenal and something to be studied and understood. So I'm going to let Google do its thing with number 27, Brother Noble Drew Ali. Hey Google, who is Noble Drew Ali?
According to Wikipedia, Timothy Drew, better known as Noble Drew Ali, was an American who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America.
And like I said, you got to look into that because Noble Drew Ali led on an organizational level at a time. He built this this movement right after Garvey, right before the Nation of Islam. So where he was at in time and his movement and its impact and its ramifications is why he's so high on the list. And right above him at number 26 is the good Reverend, the good brother, Elijah Muhammad. Now Elijah Muhammad is the founder of the Nation of Islam with Wallace D. Farrar. So after Noble Drew Ali and his Moorish science movement came the Nation of Islam, which exploded into our consciousness through its teachings and its spreading out through the prison network and getting those brothers involved and understanding knowledge of self. And this spawned into the 5% movement. So with Noble Drew Ali and Elijah Muhammad, you get a lot of the Muslim and Islamic influence into America. And that's, you know, it's historic because, you know, when you took slaves out of Africa, when you took black people out of Africa, or Africans out of Africans and made them slaves in America, you were taking a lot of Muslims as well. So these understandings got passed down throughout the community and the cultures. And, you know, when you do your studies on them, Brother Clarence 13X, of the gods and the earth, you'll find in the history that, you know, Islam has been a part of America, especially since the history of Europe was steeped in Islam, since they were controlled by the Moors for roughly 700 years until they took out Baghdad, Turkey, you know, 1492. So understanding that part of our existence and our evolution and our exchange through those three, number 25 or 27, Noble Drew Ali, 26, Elijah Muhammad, I think you get a good understanding. So then we go into number 25, which is connective to Elijah Muhammad because where the Nation of Islam is headquartered out of Chicago. Number 25 is the first black mayor of Chicago, Harold Washington. Hey Google, who was Harold Washington? Hey Google, who was Harold Washington?
According to Wikipedia, Harold Lee Washington was an American lawyer and politician who was the 51st mayor of Chicago.
First black mayor of Chicago, like second, third largest city in America. Sweeping reform and organization. A lot of controversy within the Chicago political machine, but Harold Washington was like a beacon, like right next door in Gary. You had, oh my goodness, I'm from Gary. I feel bad, y'all. I got the first black mayor of Gary who really changed things and set a precedent. And they had a big black meeting in Chicago, or in Gary at my high school. Gary Westside is like very famous, where Jesse Jackson and all of these people came down. And I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on, but I got all of these names right in front of me and in my head, so just recalling one and going off topic. But Harold Washington represents that black political movement at a high level. The Marion Barrys, Willie Wilsons, and at that level, you know, Harold Washington, he really impacted America. And his intellectual capacity at that level in leadership led a class, our intellectual class, I think is why he's so high on the list and so revered in my estimation. But next we go to Thurgood Marshall. Hey Google, who was Thurgood Marshall?
According to Wikipedia, Thurgood Marshall was an American lawyer, serving as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from October 1967 until October 1991.
That's right. So you see how big a wig Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall was. Study his career, Brown versus the Board of Education. Like, he basically shaped our civil existence. And like I say, with his work as a lawyer and with his work on the Supreme Court. So Thurgood Marshall, one of the biggest names in American law, and especially black American law, and righteous. A lot of history that goes on with that as far as law and order and you know, affiliation with the politics of the day. So watch his movie and get his understanding from that, on his perspective on what, you know, justice for blacks was, is in this time, you know, because we understand what justice is, and this whole research about culture and going back into that reaffirms our commitment to a just and true and understanding the depths, because that's what I think when Thurgood Marshall represents, is the depths of knowledge we have to have and bring to bear on our situation. So look him up, and he, I mean, just grace all the way through. Love the brother Thurgood Marshall. Number 24. And number 23, we have Sojourner Truth. Now, Sojourner Truth, bad woman. I'm talking about bad woman. Hey Google, Who was Sojourner Truth?
According to Wikipedia, Sojourner Truth was an African-American abolitionist and women's rights activist.
Bad woman. I'm talking about, I think Sojourner Truth might have been the first woman to take a white man to court and win to get her child back. I'm pretty sure, you know, I've been doing the research for this, but I'm pretty sure that's the story of Sojourner Truth. And I mean, she, bad woman, recruited soldiers for the Union Army. I mean, just, like I said, our leadership, both sides, men and women, our culture has been about fighting this oppressive machine. And if you go back and see what these people believed in and what they're offering today, I think you'll understand why this list is necessary. Because people like Sojourner Truth, going through the ultimate hardships, slavery, children being taken from them, having to go and fight in a system that is totally alien and against them, and coming out victorious. And, you know, like I said, it's not a black or white thing, because there's, you know, white people there aiding and abetting and assisting in this life, but these lives are examples of what it takes to make it in this world, because it's a real world with systems, and sometimes these systems are in your favor and sometimes they're not in your favor. And Sojourner Truth is just, like I say, I'm looking forward to writing all of these stories and in the book, and just putting it all together, where we come from, what the culture is. I'm developing the title as we go through this this list, but I just want you to get all of these people. So we come back to the list and number 22. Number 22 is A. Phillip Randolph. A. Phillip Randolph. Hey Google, who was A. Phillip Randolph?
According to Wikipedia, Asa Phillip Randolph was a leader in the civil rights movement, the American labor movement, and socialist political parties.
Now, like I said, our leaders come from many different perspectives and many different paradigms. So A. Phillip Randolph was I think it's the Pullman car union organizer. And I mean, when you talk about Pullman porters, you're talking about like 30% of the black working force at a certain time. Very important work that he did in making sure that they got their rights and respect, and joining in the labor movement, which has been crushed in America right now. I mean, and capitalism is hard on labor because, you know, when you're talking about free trade capitalism, you're talking about lowest price, highest yield. So, you know, labor is part of your price, your cost, and you want to get that as low as possible. So A. Phillip Randolph was a giant in making sure that we were not left out of that labor movement, that made sure that corporations did not exploit and capitalize off of the Pullman porter and that working area, and a leader in so many different areas. And like I say, I'm doing the research to get all of the little details right for the book, because this is a story that needs to be understood, because how you get your money, this is the master of understanding what's fair and equitable for you as a worker with a corporation. And he was a leader, trailblazer in that respect, in both the labor aspect and the black community aspect. So that's why he's so high up on the list. And up next is Hubert Henry Harrison. Now, Hubert Henry Harrison is into the socialist thing, into the labor thing, and into the Pan-African thing. He was a predecessor to Marcus Garvey. So, hey Google, who was Hubert Henry Harrison?
According to Wikipedia, Hubert Henry Harrison was a West Indian American writer, orator, educator, critic, and race and class-conscious political activist and radical internationalist based in Harlem, New York.
So, where Cuffe started the Pan-Africanist movement and Delaney started the nationalist movement, Hubert Henry Harrison, was the guy who brought them together and really started that movement, which snowballed, and those remnants were picked up into the Garvey movement. So after Hubert Henry Harrison, we have number 20. We almost there. I know y'all sticking with me, and I know this is kind of crazy, but it's a lot of information, and just going through the list, writing these names down will change your life, change your kid's life, change your friend's life. It ain't P. Diddy, it ain't Master P, it ain't all of that mind control stuff that the new media and propaganda, because one of the men on the list, Marcus Garvey, said propaganda is the greatest weapon ever formed against the people, which is why I got to come out here out of my throne and be like, okay, let me just put down media how it's supposed to go. So this list is just an introduction into me and kind of what I'm doing with the culture and what I'm doing as far as my next progression. So after Hubert Henry Harrison, number 20 on the list, is our sister, a fighter, a revolutionary, a visionary, Shirley Chisholm. Hey Google, who is Shirley Chisholm?
According to Wikipedia, Shirley Anita Chisholm was an American politician, educator, and author.
Shirley Chisholm been running for president since the 70s, and she was serious about it. She was a serious candidate with serious issues, coming from a serious place. Not just a feminist, not just a woman, but a serious person who reminds me of Sheila Jackson, I think it is, or no, Cynthia McKinney. Like Cynthia McKinney, when she ran for president, she was from that Shirley Chisholm vein of truth-telling to power and understanding what the game is all the way through. So when it comes to power women, Shirley Chisholm was well ahead of the curve when it came into participation into the political arena, which is why she gets such a high ranking on my list of people should be studied and learned about. Number 19 is Brother Booker T. Washington. Now Booker T is a gigantic historic figure. Hey Google, who is Booker T. Washington?
According to Wikipedia, Booker Taliaferro Washington was an American educator, author, orator, and advisor to presidents of the United States.
Booker T was on that level with Frederick Douglas, except his philosophy was a little bit more meek, a little bit, I won't say meek, a little more subtle, about self-development, self-education, humbling yourself in the presence of the system that you're in. So he was often disagreed with in history, but definitely read Up From Slavery and understand exactly who he was and what he represented to the culture, because a lot of what he said is needed today, especially as far as technical skills and knowing how to do certain things to build yourself and build up your community. So a lot of people would, basically put him on the right side, right, conservative leaning. And, as far as where our politics are perceived to be today, that's outside of our scope. But you got to really understand what Booker T. Washington was about and understand his plight. No man was perfect on this list, but Booker T. Washington is a giant in our history and our culture, and so you got to look into that. And like I say, when you read the book, you'll understand a little bit more, because I can go more into depth about the disagreements that were had between him and other historical figures who are actually on the list. So, after Booker T. Washington, I went to the almost extreme other end of the spectrum with Dr. John Henrik Clarke, one of our greatest scholars, master teacher, my father. Like I say, when I talked to Brother Steve Coakley and Brother Williams down in Louisiana, they sent me Dr. John Henrik Clarke. And if anybody in the what we call the conscious community, or anybody know Dr. Ben, John Henrik Clarke, those are the fathers of what we do in this culture, what we're here for, what we are about, why we create, why we curate, why we cultivate, because the culture needs great minds. The culture needs intellectual giants. And if you ain't never seen Amun-Ra, produced by Wesley Snipes, Amun-Ra Productions produced A Great and Mighty Walk by Dr. John Henrik Clarke, you won't understand why he's on this list. But he's a giant in philosophy, in thought, in culture, in society. So let's go with the Google. And hey Google, who was John Henrik Clarke?
According to Wikipedia, John Henrik Clarke was an African-American historian, professor, and a pioneer in the creation of Pan-African and Africana studies and professional institutions in academia starting in the late 1960s.
Yeah, bad man. Now I'm going to do something a little unorthodox because I want to make sure. Hey Google, who was Shirley Chisholm?
According to Wikipedia, Shirley Anita Chisholm was an American politician, educator, and author.
Okay, they went through her quick, so I wanted to make sure that I got the Google reference on there and everything in there. So, I mean, this is what we're here for. Like, when you hear about John Henrik Clarke, rewind it. Hey Google, who was John Henrik Clarke?
According to Wikipedia, John Henrik Clarke was an African-American historian, professor, and a pioneer in the creation of Pan-African and Africana studies and professional institutions in academia starting in the late 1960s.
So, I mean, like I say, with the movement that he done, he was an evolved, how can I say it? Because he reviewed what everybody did and gave us an evolved perspective. So giant in academia and in the culture in the hood, and John Henrik Clarke is the father of the movement, basically. The culture movement, the understanding, knowledge of self, wisdom, understanding, all of that. John Henrik Clarke, very serious man. Number 17, my homeboy from where I'm from, most misunderstood person, maybe second most misunderstood person on this list other than Bill Cosby. And he's an entertainer as well, but he's a businessman. He was a genius, humanitarian, unparalleled in this world was Michael Jackson. That's right, 17 on my list is Michael Jackson. And everybody can do the research on his entertainment, his movement, and who he was, but you got to understand, and I'll lay it out in my book about what Michael Jackson represented as far as what's going on in the world. Like, knowing who Clarence Avant is now, understanding Michael Jackson is so much more realistic, and what the landscape of the industry was, and the powers he was up against. So, beautiful soul, maligned character, tortured in many ways, but he's number 17 on my list of greatest leaders because of the amount of people that he touched. I mean, you just can't even, so you got to get down with Mike and be down. And number 16, this man was an athlete but humanitarian on the same level as Mike, but even greater than Michael Jackson was Muhammad Ali. Hey Google, who was Michael Jackson?
According to Wikipedia, Michael Joseph Jackson was an American singer, songwriter, and dancer.
That's why I say they leave out so much about him buying the Beatles catalog, him owning so many pieces of art and collections, and I mean just one of the wealthiest black men, truly one of the first billionaires in the game. Very maligned character. And with Muhammad Ali, in his early life, he was demonized and maligned, but later on in life, it was gracefully accepted, like Malcolm X. You know, what you did in the 60s was radical. For some people, it was uplifting, but to the establishment, it was totally antithetical. Then he became Olympic torchbearer, iconic figure, but Muhammad Ali in his heyday stood against the Vietnam War. I mean, against the whole government. Viet Cong ain't never called me nigger. So understand the context in which he was operating at that time and on that level, changing the name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, switching religions, going against states. I mean, even bigger than Michael Jackson, man. That's why they're so close in there. But Muhammad Ali, hey Google, who was Muhammad Ali?
According to Wikipedia, Muhammad Ali was an American professional boxer, activist, and philanthropist.
And he's number 16 on the list. Now number 15 is educator, philanthropist, a titan in our history. Hey Google, who was Ida B. Wells?
According to Wikipedia, Ida Bell Wells Barnett was an African-American investigative journalist, educator, and an early leader in the civil rights movement.
So, when you read the book and you can contextualize who this woman was and what she did for the movement, you'll see why she's at number 15, right behind number 15. I really messed that up. I ain't gonna edit this out. I'm gonna keep it in there. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, these lights is hot. I'm really getting through this list though. So, at number 14, one of the giants in black thought, black expression, black excellence, Mr. Paul Robeson. Hey Google, who was Paul Robeson?
According to Wikipedia, Paul Leroy Robeson was an American bass baritone concert artist and stage and film actor who became famous both for his cultural accomplishments and for his political activism.
I mean, he was there before Belafonte. He traveled the globe, opera, sang in different languages, very conscious, got mixed up in the communist movement, but still expressing, and you know, it was at a time when America wasn't treating the black man with any respect, but the Russians respected his talent. Football player, I think, went to Rutgers, I believe it was. I got to do my history on his background, but football player, he was LeBron James and Pavarotti in one person. I mean, just humongous talent, humongous mind, very tragic figure later in life. So you got to do the history and understand how much he sacrificed to prove our humanity. And that's why he's so far up on the list. And above him at number 13 I have a man who sacrificed his life fighting for our rights, fighting for people's rights, fighting to make things better. Just tragic story in the movement. Brother Medgar Evers, always partnered with Malcolm and Martin as one of the top brilliant minds cut down who was fighting in the struggle. Hey Google, who was Medgar Evers?
According to Wikipedia, Medgar Wiley Evers was an American civil rights activist in Mississippi, the state's field secretary for the NAACP, and a World War II veteran who had served in the United States Army.
Yeah, and he was shot down in his driveway in front of his wife Merle, like Merle, Betty, Coretta. Those are the three widows of the slain martyrs of the 60 Revolution. So you really got to find out who Medgar Evers was and what he sacrificed and why he's so high on this list of great leaders. And right above him is Chairman Fred Hampton, who, like I say, with these parents, was a little bit farther to the left as far as being radical and boisterous and about to do it. But he was probably the most eloquent out of everybody on this list. I would say that he was more eloquent than Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So he was very sharp, died at a very young age. Hey Google, who was Fred Hampton?
According to Wikipedia, Fred Hampton was an American activist and revolutionary, chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, and deputy chairman of the National BPP.
And like I said, fiery revolutionary. If you listen to hip-hop music, you've heard his voice. Like I said, very young, 21 years old when he died. His wife was pregnant with their son, Chairman Fred Jr. I mean, a tragic story, and I think probably one of the brightest lights America had that was cut short with duplicity from COINTELPRO and the police department. So you gotta do the story. There's a great book out on Chairman Fred. I'm gonna put all of the references and stuff where you can learn this in my book, or you can just do the research and all of this stuff is gonna pop up. But you gotta know about Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred. And we're moving into the top 10 greatest leaders in Black America, in my estimation, that I think you should know about and study and find our way back. So number 11 didn't make the list, and everybody who knows me will know that I am a stalwart, ardent, W.E.B. Du Bois man. I mean, I'm Du Bois, man. I love Du Bois. As a college student, head of my class, I was always a Du Boisian. So for him not to make my top 10 is very, very significant. But there was things in history, like I say, with our whole history and the culture of the movement, where certain people were in certain positions and certain things caused them to be a certain way. So that's where I get my reckoning from. But my man W.E.B. Du Bois, you got to do the history. NAACP, founder of the Boule. I mean, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois is one of the most influential Americans ever, like in the vein of Randall Robinson on this list, Thurgood Marshall, Harvard boys. These boys was no joke as far as intellectuals and achievements. Politics get in the way sometimes, and that's where, you know, he's number 11 on the list. But I Am the Smoke King, his poem is like one of my favorite pieces. And he's got a piece where he talks about the death of his unborn child. I got the David Levering Lewis's reader on Du Bois, so I have all his works. Remarkable person in history. Check his story. Died in Africa working with Kwame Nkrumah after criticizing Marcus Garvey his whole career. That's why. But go through the history of Du Bois and really break down what he was putting down and what he's been through. And like I say, there's so much history, and like in the book, I'm going to try to contextualize all of these leaders to bring us to a state of leadership today. And so we're going into the top 10. I'm going to go quick because everybody knows most of these people, and they understand, you know, how to find it, how to go. So this is kind of like the wrap up, but I wanted to go through this list and give y'all all a guide, man, of, you know, what we used to be thinking about, what used to be on our mind, what were the goals, what were the achievements, what were the things that needed to happen, and now there's a future that needs to happen as far as being technological, being international law savvy, and just being industrially, infrastructurally prepared. Just as a people and as a culture. So this is where we're trying to move through and move to in the culture. Like I said, being industrially, internationally, infrastructurally sound. So, top 10, number 10, Malcolm X. Hey Google, who was Malcolm X?
According to Wikipedia, Malcolm X was an American Muslim minister and human rights activist who was a popular figure during the civil rights movement.
Number 9, Marcus Garvey. And I put Marcus step above Malcolm because of the influence that Marcus Garvey had on Malcolm's father and on Malcolm himself. Hey Google, who was Marcus Garvey?
According to Wikipedia, Marcus Messiah Garvey Jr. ONH was a Jamaican-born political activist, publisher, journalist, entrepreneur, and orator.
Okay. Number 8, George Washington Carver. That's right, scientist. You got to know that we had great thinkers who were working, and you know, like I say, this list is for people who you should research and learn about, because they got, you know, great histories attached to them. So just reading about one of them could be a life's work. But learning all 50 and how they connect and how they shaped this culture we're in today. So, like I say, George Washington Carver is one of them scientists, and to hear Dick Gregory talk about him, you just learn so much. Number 7, Mary Mcloud Bethune. That's right, Mary Mcloud Bethune, top 10. Hey Google, who was Mary Mcloud Bethune?
According to Wikipedia, Mary Jane McLeod Bethune was an American educator, stateswoman, philanthropist, humanitarian, and civil rights activist best known for starting a private school for African American students in Daytona Beach, Florida, and co-founding UNCF on April 25, 1944 with William Trent and Frederick D. Patterson.
So, as you can see, Mary McLeod Bethune was pioneer in education, pioneer in philanthropy, one of the greatest women that's not talked about a lot because they don't push the education thing nowadays. They push the, you know, but Bethune-Cookman College, named after Mary McLeod Bethune, but they don't push those kind of women to our young ladies anymore. So we gotta do the history on that. Number 6, Frederick Douglass. Do I gotta say, the man counseled Abraham Lincoln and freeing slavery. Man whooped the slave master. Gotta do what do I gotta tell you about Frederick Douglass that you need to know, that you gotta know about Frederick Douglass? So we in the big boys now. These are the top 10 greatest leaders in Black American history. So, and most, except for 2, were born in America. Except for 2. So these are homegrown, what we made out of stuff and what we should be striving for and understanding And there's a lot that's going to go into the book that's going to, like I say, encapsulate everything. But this is the start. This is where we're at right now, making sure that we understand Frederick Douglass, whipped the slave master, Counsel Abraham Lincoln, abolitions. Hey Google, who was Frederick Douglass?
According to Wikipedia, Frederick Douglass was an American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman.
When they say statesman, that means he sat with the president. Number 5. Now this one is controversial for this list. And they're going to be like, why'd you do that, Ellis? Or J. Gold? Sorry, I didn't mean to tell you my real name. But my government's out. But number 5. Controversial pick because might not have been black. Might have been black. So I'm erring to this man was black. Because I read his biography. He's black. Alexander Hamilton. That's right, y'all. I said Alexander Hamilton. That's who you need to understand. And Alexander Hamilton, one of the greatest Americans, founders of America. Remember Crispus Attucks, first American killed in a Revolutionary War. So we were there, we were in there in all different capacities. And Alexander Hamilton was a big wig, heavy lifting and making this country what it is. And you know, the culture of reality, greatest country in the world for 200 years since its existence. There's a reason why Aaron Burr shot Alexander Hamilton. So this is where we move into, y'all. We do this research, we get to know where we're supposed to be, where we're going. Now who's bigger than Alexander Hamilton, you say? In the top 5? Hey Google, who is Alexander Hamilton though?
According to Wikipedia, Alexander Hamilton was an American statesman, politician, legal scholar, military commander, lawyer, banker, and economist.
And he was born in the West Indies. His mother was part black, and you know, there was a lot going on with that. The books don't want to say it explicitly because that's bringing up a lot of muckety-muck about history, but like I say, as we go through more podcasts and I go into detailed podcasts, not doing a list podcast, then we'll talk about stuff. But right now I'm just giving you some stuff to get familiar with, so when you come in and you see the culture, you see me, you know we're talking about serious history, serious people, and the real shit that happened. Excuse my language. But who do I have bigger than Alexander Hamilton? Who's in the number 4 spot? Number 444. Who's in that spot? Benjamin Banneker. Whoo! A lot of people wouldn't expect that. Y'all don't understand how deep Benjamin Banneker goes, like with the Prince Hall. See, I'll put little breadcrumbs in here for you to see the Hamilton, Banneker, Prince Hall, Crispus Attucks. All of these things at the founding of our country where black men were very, very active and very, very prominent. And if you connect the dots, you'll see you've never been left out of nothing, and what was going on was real in the world and everybody was going through it. But I'm going to let Google tell you a little bit about Benjamin Banneker, but you know the name, you got to do the research. There's a lot to unpack with this one here. Hey Google, who was Benjamin Banneker?
According to Wikipedia, Benjamin Banneker was a free African-American almanac author, surveyor, naturalist, and farmer.
Built Washington, D.C., designed, when they say surveyor, he goes up on the hill. He designed a layout for Washington, D.C., where everything was built and aligned it with the stars. I mean, Benjamin Banneker, you got to do the research on him. Top 3, y'all. Can you believe I made it through a list of 50 great black leaders that you should study and learn and talk about and share? And, you know, hit me in the comments with what you learned about them and how this enlightened you and what it is. You know, hopefully people will share it. Hopefully people will see the culture. Hopefully people will understand, you know, basically what I'm into and what we're trying to do with this podcast. So, number 3, top 3. Y'all done heard all of these names, and who haven't you heard? Who's the number 3 greatest leader you need to learn about in America? Barack Obama. That's right. Barack Obama is number 3. I don't even think I gotta say nothing about the man. He's damn president. First black president in history. Now, he was born in America. I ain't no birther or no crazy shit like that. But his daddy wasn't born in America. And his daddy was the black one. So, that's how he makes number 3 on the list. And there's a lot to unpack with Obama. But the accomplishment of being the first black president deserves to know the import of your signaling to the world of who we are, what we represent. You got to be in the top 3. Now, as far as all of the things that he did and his political views and all of that, I'll go into it in the book, and I'm going to really go into a lot of people in the book. The book is going to be something that you'll get to know me and how smart I really am and how crazy I really am, how passionate I really am. So get ready for that book, but it's coming. Number 2, the second most important leader, or greatest leader, important leader, person you should know about on this list is Martin Luther the King. That's right, Martin Luther King. Wasn't Martin Luther King, but he changed his name to be the King. Gave his life for us. Made that pivotal turn to stand up for justice versus take an agenda. When he said, I'm against Vietnam and I'm for the poor people's revolution. Oh, they had to get rid of them like they got rid of X. And he made that choice. And he had the greatest impact in the world on the human soul, bigger than Barack Obama. Martin Luther King was a trailblazer, groundbreaker. He was the second greatest black leader we'd ever had. So, we're getting down to number 1. Who's the greatest black leader that you should know about and understand? Who y'all think it is? Hey Google, who is Barack Obama?
According to Wikipedia, Barack Hussein Obama II is an American attorney and politician who served as the 44th President of the United States from 2009 to 2017.
Okay. Number 1, greatest black leader. Am I holding y'all up? Because here it goes, all right. Number 1 greatest black leader is Harriet Tubman, Underground Railroad. Sister Harriet, toughest American leader ever. Hands down. Do your research. Understand it. Harriet Tubman is the greatest black leader and the greatest aspiration we could have for our people. To not 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, but hundreds of times go back to free more. Into the worst pits of hell, slavery, death God gave on this earth. She did it. Niggas gave their life. She gave us freedom. Real freedom. From chains, shackles, beating, oppression. Her and her network, Harriet Tubman, the greatest black leader. Hey Google, who's Harriet Tubman? Greatest black.
According to Wikipedia, Harriet Tubman was an American abolitionist and political activist.
Man, see how they cheat her on Google. This woman risked her life going to free other people. After she had risked her life to free herself, she went back into the risk and set up a network underground and fought tooth and nail. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the culture. It's not about the names and the highlights and all of that. It's about the realities that people face for us to be here. To understand our history, ourselves, so we can work on the planet to make things better and develop a higher focus. And I think Harriet Tubman exemplifies that to the fullest. Now, I done made it through this list. I'm going to give y'all a rundown of all 50 names so you can go and research. Shoot me some comments and tell me if I, opened your eyes to anything, if you disagree with, the placement and the ordering of importance, because that's not really important. You can't say one is better than the other. That's apples and oranges. But people who should be studied and understood is what this program was about. So I just wanted to make sure that we got it out there. Like I said, my man L.A., I want to thank you, brother. You inspired me to get started on this blog thing, and you asked this question to give me a formula, a format to showcase kind of what I'm about. And we're going to take it further with the books and, with the movies and the conversation and even articles and a lot of things that we can talk about that's really developmental for our minds and our culture and our progression. And, we ain't got to listen to all of that nonsense and wait for somebody to come on and tell us what color underwear your favorite superstar was wearing, or who's sleeping with who, or who did what. We want to get to the true facts, people who understood economics, finance, policy, education, art, literature, compassion, humanitarianism, and corruption. Because that's another section I'm going to go into, is the corruption in the black community. Oh, the culture. It's gonna get deep, y'all. Once we get comfortable with each other and everybody understands who I am and what I do, then the programming and the edits and all of this cutting and everything is gonna get a lot better. But right now, I'm just giving y'all a raw version of what is coming. This is my first one. I know I'm gonna look back on it and be like, oh, I was so green, because I went to production school. I'm educated. In the intro, I went through all of my educators and all of the people who taught me, set me down and made sure that I learned. And I want people to understand that I was a student, I am a student. You got to be a student if we're going to keep this thing going. And we got to study the right things if we want to ace this thing, because life is the test. And if you don't study for life, then you're not going to ace it. And we're in a bad state right now where anybody's getting out there talking any kind of way, saying anything, and not moving towards a progressive state where people can actually live, raise families, and live in harmony. So how do you get that? We're going to go through in these podcasts. And like I said, support the culture, create, curate, cultivate the culture. This is J Gold. This is number one. I'm done with it. Peace.
Up in every rhyme, I put hip hop. Up in every line, I put hip hop. Up in every flow, MC versus the mind control. I put hip hop. Up in every rhyme, I put hip hop. Up in every line, I put hip hop. Up in every flow, MC versus that mind control. I step in the arena with the flashing lights, spitting a low-end theory to the duel of the iron mics. Many men wish death, but I am the light. Top billing, why she keep on passing me by? Space age pimping, Aquemini swimming, old dirty bastard screaming Wu-Tang for the children. I know I can be what I wanna be. Hey young world, tell me what you wanna see. I am the greatest man alive, 3 times dope. Nobody beats the beard, Sir Sailor Ghost. I'm a Kazi twisting up that Chi-Town flow. Teach me how to Dougie or them lottie-dottie quotes. Some people don't like how Sally walks. I told her walk this way. Not everybody talks about a funky cold Medina. Hammer asked if I seen her, yeah, with Mecca in the soul, brother. I put hip-hop up in every rhyme. I put hip-hop up in every line. I put hip-hop up in every flow. MC versus the mind control. I put hip-hop up in every rhyme. I put hip-hop up in every line. I put hip-hop up in every flow. MC versus that mind control. chillin', sitting back, feeling illmatic, stillmatic. Did I mention that in my lifetime, rap has been a lifeline? Praying with the killer priest. Heavy mental help me know the beast and the nature of the threat. It's the golden child with the liquid sword and the purple cassette. I'm a different kind of vet, relaxing with Sosa on Sugar Hill. You got to chill, bumping through my radio. My Adidas feel good in this scenario. No punks jumping up to get beat down. I need a beat now just to make a symphony. A big pimpin' piece like a pocket full of stones. I got the chronic in my bones, feeling like a black Superman. DJ Quicksand, sweet black pussy friends. Y'all gon' make me lose my mind, so I'm grinding till the end. I put hip hop up in every rhyme. I put hip hop up in every line. I put hip hop up in every flow. MC versus the mind control. I put hip hop up in every rhyme. I put hip hop up in every line. I put hip hop up in every flow. MC versus that mind control. I wouldn't be here today if the Lost Boys didn't make Renee. So let the ghetto bastards say hip hop hooray. Seen as a microphone fiend since I was 16 and good. Ask the boys in the hood putting all Glocks down. UNITY, we got the props now. Follow the leader, Operation Lockdown. No sleep to Brooklyn, sing the anthem uptown. Say the pledge, step into the AM, know the ledge. Unless you a shook one, you live at the barbecue straight from Brooklyn. What's beef, chug, rock, push it. I got it made. Today was a good day to be paid. In full on the road to the riches, hitting switches since 6 in the morning. Sprinkle me, man, can I bust this warning? I put hip hop up in every rhyme. I put hip hop up in every line. I put hip hop up in every flow. MC versus the mind control. I put hip hop up in every rhyme. I put hip hop up in every line. I put hip hop up in every flow. MC versus that mind control.